Good morning and welcome to everyone here and those of you joining us on YouTube TV. Whether you came today for the 1000th time or for the first time, whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your accent, whoever you love, whatever religious beliefs you hold, you're welcome here. You are welcome here as you are. Ours is a tradition that embraces heresy, a word that means profoundly at odds with what is generally accepted. Ours is a faith that affirms that we need not think or believe alike. Our inspiration is that we love alike, and by that we do not mean a warm feeling, but rather a real, tangible caring for each other, for every person, and for the whole world. We affirm that every person is worthy and every person deserves love. And we're firmly committed to this world and to the struggle to make it a paradise here for the living. You matter, and you're welcome here. My name is Jim Shibley. I'm a worship associate here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, and today we embrace National Women's History Month for our service. So to start us off, let it be known that Adam Grant, organizational psychologist at the Wharton School, reports, if leaders are serious about ending war, women need a seat at the table. International data analyzing settlements over the past 30 years shows when women are involved in agreements, peace is 35% more likely to last more than 15 years. Gender balance is especially important when the stakes are high and numbers run hot. Close quote. Big thanks to a lot of people. Jesse Downs and the music team have a superb and eclectic mix of music today. I get to see the order of service a few days in advance, so I get to go out on YouTube and see what we're up to. The tech team is back there doing things that I guess probably none of us could do except for them. If you want to get an appreciation of that, as I try to do from time to time, go back and watch them as they prep for the service or close it out afterward. They're tremendous in broadcasting us to YouTube each and every week, which is especially handy for those of you who forgot to change your clocks and are at home in your pajamas. Our ushers, also we thank them. They inform and guide you around the sanctuary. A few announcements of special focus. At the end of this month, Friday, March 28th, 7 p.m., Sunday, March 30th, 5 p.m., our resident opera company, Sotto Voce, will present their most ambitious production yet, Donizetti's Lucia dell'Amor, at the First Presbyterian Church over on Symphony Circle, directly across from Kleinhans. Sotto Voce will also present a sneak preview of the show in our sanctuary, Saturday, March 15th, coming up soon, as part of our casual concert series. Tickets for the full shows will be available for purchase in the parish hall after the services all month. And if you want a little better appreciation of that, pick up your Buffalo Spree or go buy one somewhere. And on page 22, you'll find a really nice 2-page spread on Sotto Voce featured in Buffalo Spree with a nice picture of Jesse up there as well. And a cool story on that, one point that I underlined was Sotto Voce aims to broaden the base for locally produced opera by making it relevant for modern audiences. So there you go. Way to go, Jesse. Second, the Our Whole Lives Lifespan Sexuality Education Program for kids is building momentum toward providing an offering for 12 to 7-year-olds this year. If you want to join in, you can get certified to teach OWL by attending online classes that are happening in June. See Jess Pond for details. All right, now, deepen our connections with old friends and create some new ones by greeting our neighbors. And that said, if you prefer to sit quietly in your seat and just let the buzz happen around you, we're also fine with that. So chat amongst yourselves for a moment.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, for getting up an hour early and coming to church. I'm impressed. We were just saying that we'd probably be in our pajamas if we didn't have an obligation to be here today. So today we're celebrating International Women's Day, which was yesterday. So the opening words I chose are from Pat Uribe Lichty. We come together with our tired mind and bodies, with our confusion and our questions, our uncertainties and our fears, and we come together with our hopes, with our pasts and our ideas, our passions and our faith. We come together bringing all of who we are, trusting that in gathering we will be renewed, and that together we can create the world we long for. These chalice lighting words are from Julianne Lepp. We light this chalice with hope, a sturdy flame we nurture in these difficult times. We light this chalice with the heart of compassion for a nation divided by politics and strife. We light this chalice knowing that it will take all of us to repair this world we live in. May we find rest, compassion, and hope that we need to nurture ourselves and each other. And may this sturdy light remind us of the people that we can be and the difference that we make in the world.
If you rise in body and spirit and join me in the chalice lighting words, and then we'll move on to a hymn after that. So all together, we gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves to create a more just and compassionate world. And in your gray hymnal, number 361, will be Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Story for all ages, and all the young in heart and the young are welcome to come forward and listen to the story. Elizabeth leads the way. Move this chair here. Good morning, you guys. It's good to see you. Are you familiar with Elizabeth Cady Stanton? No? Okay. I'm so glad you get to learn about her today. Very powerful, important person. Okay. Wow. We do not expect our path to be strewn with the flowers of popular applause. Over the thorns of bigotry and prejudice will be our way. What would you do if someone told you that you can't be what you want to be because you're a girl? What would you do if someone told you your vote doesn't count, your voice doesn't matter because you're a girl? Would you ask why? Would you talk back? Would you fight for your rights? I believe y'all would. Elizabeth did. All of these things used to be true, but back when Elizabeth Cady was a girl, and all of these things might still be true today if Elizabeth hadn't led the way. She was only 4 years old the first time she heard someone, a woman, say life was better for boys. The woman had come to visit Elizabeth's new baby sister. What a pity it is she's a girl. How could anyone look at a little baby and feel sad? What could be wrong about being a girl? She was 13 years old when her father, Judge Cady, told a woman whose husband had died that the farm she had spent her whole life working on would be taken from her. Without a husband, the law stated, nothing belonged to her. Elizabeth was horrified by this unfairness. She said that the law should be cut out of every book. Judge Cady told her that wouldn't change anything. The law was still the law, and only men were allowed to change the laws. Preposterous, she said. And she decided right then and there that she could do anything any boy can do. She jumped over high hurdles on horseback. She rafted across the raging river, and she won a prize for being the best in Greek studies. Her father was proud, but he worried about his strong-spirited, rule-breaking daughter. Ah, you should have been a boy. He knew how much easier her life would be, but Elizabeth wasn't interested in easy. At 16, since colleges wouldn't let girls in, Elizabeth begged her father to send her to a girls' school to continue her learning. And so while most young ladies were getting married and washing dishes, doing laundry and having babies, Elizabeth was studying religion, math, science, French, and writing. Several years later, Elizabeth Cady met Harry Stanton. He was an abolitionist, speaking out against slavery. He understood how unfair it was for people not to have their rights or power. He did not laugh when Elizabeth talked about freedom. He did not laugh when Elizabeth said all people should be able to live life the way they chose. And he did not laugh when she told him she would add his name to her own, but would not give up her name just to marry him. So Elizabeth Cady became Elizabeth Cady Stanton and had babies, cooked meals, washed dishes, mended clothes, and did laundry. She loved her babies, but she did not love cooking and dishes and mending and laundry. One day, her friend Lucretia Mott invited her to a lunch. Lucretia had always shared Elizabeth's ideas about all the things women could do and would do if they only had the right. The other women at the lunch shared them too. Elizabeth got fired up and she proposed they hold a meeting. A meeting that would gather lots and lots of women from all around to talk. But what would they talk about? Oh, there were so many things that needed to be set straight. Married women couldn't even own property or even the money they worked to earn. Well, Elizabeth had learned long ago that only men could change the laws because only men could vote. That was it. That was the one thing that could change everything. If women could vote, they could help change all kinds of laws. This idea was so shocking, so huge, and so daring, Elizabeth's friends gasped out loud. If they were flabbergasted, what would other people think? Elizabeth did not waver. She knew voting was the only way to make a difference. Her battle cry for the right to vote rang out. Have it we must, use it we will. Even her Henry thought she had gone a little too far. But on July 19, 1848, when Elizabeth arrived at the meeting place, she saw for herself that she hadn't. The small church in Seneca Falls, New York, was filled with hundreds of people. Elizabeth read aloud what she and a few other women had written together. Their Declaration of Rights and Sentiments challenged the idea from the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal. When she was finished, she looked into the faces of the crowd and waited. The room was silent, and then a rumbling began, and it grew louder and louder as people argued whether or not women should be allowed to vote. Word of the meeting spread like wildfire. Newspapers across the country scolded Elizabeth for her boldness, but other women joined her in the battle. The idea of women having the right to vote began to buzz in the ears of people from Maine to California. Elizabeth had tossed a stone in the water, and the ripples grew wider and wider and wider. Many said Elizabeth must be stopped. But as we know, Elizabeth was unstoppable. She changed America forever. And that's the story. Yay! Yeah, I agree. Go, 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 Elizabeth. Yeah. Oh, look, we have a baby this morning. So what was your favorite part of the story? Did you guys know that women couldn't vote? They couldn't even own property? They couldn't even keep the money they earned? Oh my goodness. A lot of young people don't know this. So I'm really glad that you listened, and we'll sing you off to your classes.
I'm doing 11th grade now, and they read her speech. That's personal.
I'm going to make a suggestion to the tech team for the whole group here that I would like to see a split screen in the future. So on one side you can see what's being read, and another one I want a camera that aims down here and looks at the faces and sees the kids sitting there going, "I'm a girl, I'm a girl." Future ideas. Each week we take a good portion of our Sunday morning offering and we give it away to a social justice cause outside of our church walls. And this month, our Share of the Plate recipient is Jericho Road. Today we have Charlie Fisher here with us to describe the mission of Jericho Road. And Charlie is a faith-based community outreach manager or development manager for Jericho Road. So I'm stepping back and I'm asking Charlie to come up here and take the mic and tell us a little bit about Jericho Road. Inspire us.
Good morning. To certainly our minister and to the associate and to all of you, the Lord's people. I'm so glad to be here today. I'm here for Jericho Road Community Health Center, but I'll just take a few minutes, just a couple minutes of your time. I am the husband of Denise V. Fisher, who operates a daycare center and tells me what to do. I was retired for about 10 years, and she got tired of me. I was getting on her nerves, so she sent me to work, and I was fortunate to join Jericho Road about 20 months ago. I am also the son-in-law to Denise's mother, Juanita Liggins, who was the first black woman in management in the downtown stores. She worked for AM&A's as a buyer and was a history maker. And I am the son of Mary N. Fisher, the first black woman real estate broker in New York State history. She left Siltes Dairy. Now you can give her a hand clap, she was certainly worthy. Thank you. Mary Fisher left as the first black in management at Siltes. Before there was a SBA, ECIDA, all these different economic development programs, DEI, Mary Fisher launched her own real estate brokerage firm. She was a history maker. I've been around so much history, and as this is Women Who Led the Way Day, I just wanted to just mention that. I also have three wonderful daughters. Lieutenant Colonel Mary N. Fisher, retired. She's working in the Pentagon now. I don't know for how long. No politics. Also, my daughter Carolyn, who works in a large law firm. She's a manager in one of the largest law firms in Washington, D.C. And my third daughter, Kwanzaa, is a teacher in Atlanta, Georgia. She speaks Mandarin and Spanish just fluently. And I have two granddaughters in Jada and Janae, who both have done very, very well. I'll go on by saying that Jericho Road Community Health Center, where I work, was founded 27 years ago by Myron and Joyce Glick, two wonderful people. Maybe you know the Glicks, but Dr. Glick, Joyce Glick, certainly is to be recognized on this important day. Jericho Road is an organization that started in the back of a church. Myron and Joyce started literally in a small room in a church on the west side. Today we have over 100,000 patients, several locations in Buffalo, the largest asylum-seeking center in the country at 1500 Main Street. Jericho Road also has offices now, clinics and hospitals in Sierra Leone, in the Congo, and in Nepal. And we have now more patients in our global community than we do in the local community. But we are, certainly we believe that healthcare is a right, not a privilege. And that means, wonderful, if you've got good insurance, come on. If you have Medicare or Medicaid, come on. If you have no insurance, come on. If you have great ID, and that's good. And if you don't have ID, that's okay. If you have citizenship, or if you don't have citizenship. And that means today we really need your prayer, because we're committed to our refugee and immigrant community. In closing, I could talk for a long time, but I'll just say, I'm a retired city council member at large for the city. And I, 2 years ago, chaired the Citizen Commission on reapportionment. Every 10 years, we re-level the city, we rebalance the city districts. And for the first time in 70 years, Buffalo's population increased significantly. And we're just under 300,000 people now. But it's because of the new citizens who think enough about Buffalo to want to come and start their life. We need your help today. Obviously, with what's going on in Washington, we've had to deal with some layoffs. We laid off 1,500 of our 600 staff because of the decisions in Washington. We have a deficit for Vive Center of now nearly $1 million. And we're asking for the state, and we're doing everything we can to raise money, but you obviously have a great tradition here. You're a wonderful church who've done so much, but if you find in your hearts to do a little bit extra for Jericho Road Community Health Center, we would be delighted. We operate with a 7% administrative cost, and that means that many say we should have double that at least. But if you know anything about management, operating at 7% means we're getting the most for your dollar for the community. I want to thank you for every consideration. I want to thank you for the support of the church on behalf of Jericho Road Community Health Center. It's a pleasure, and God bless you on this Women Who Led the Way Day. God bless you.
I had notes, but nothing can beat that. And thank you, Charlie, for the uplifting of women and the inspiration of your family to share with us too. Thanks.
Fly
In the center of our service and in the center of our lives, let us pause to honor the silences of the world. Let's open our hearts to the place of quiet, to silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. I offer a prayer this morning by Sarah Eileen Lawal. Spirit of life and love, in this time of uncertainty, of fear and angst, our nation holds its collective breath. In this time when rhetoric blusters about the word and words are used as weapons, our nation clenches its fist, tightens its shoulders, eyes squeeze shut, and some are preparing for a fight. May we remember we are a people of resilience. We have faced uncertainty before, and we have weathered storms. We have been consumed by flames. We have risen like the phoenix from the ashes, and we will again. We, the people. May we remember our shared humanity, our universal kinship, as we unclench our fists and breathe together. Breathing in love and breathing out peace. May we recognize the spark of the divine inside all of us, even those we are not quite sure about. In this time of uncertainty, we remember the good will go on as we work to move forward together, we the people, seeking that which unites us with our arms reaching out wide for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. May love prevail. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen. We especially hold in our hearts today Kate Belschwade, who is home recovering from complications from her fall. We also hold Veronica Hogel's family. Her son Brian, age 56, passed away on March 6th. A celebration of life will be held here this Friday at 4 p.m. And there are no words to express the hurt in our hearts as we mourn the loss of Mickey Harmon and Jordan Saletto, prominent artists and social justice activists who were killed in their home, who were murdered in their home in Allentown last week. And now let us fill this sacred space with the names of the loved ones we hold close in our hearts this morning, some suffering in sorrow, some celebrating in joy. The breath of nature is upon us. The spirit of life is within us. The community of love surrounds us. So be it. Blessed be. And let the church say, Amen.
I joined a protest at Niagara Square this week, met some Ukrainians, met some other people that had kids that had been in Ukraine, found commonality with other people, walked around in a circle, read the signs, felt a little more inspired, felt a little more in community. Didn't know about the protest around science yesterday in the same spot until after it was over. I wish I had. So when I looked at reading this week, I searched for a reading to motivate us to remain in action and to avoid passivity. Today's reading was written by Howard Zinn, an author of You Can't Be Neutral on a Moving Train, and that book is available on the UUA bookstore website if you'd like to look it up. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic, it is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of the presents. And to live now, as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory.
Yesterday was International Women's Day, and in honor of UU History Month, Women's History Month, I want to focus on Unitarian Universalist women who paved the way. It's an extensive list, and I may not get through it entirely. We may have to speed it up, but it doesn't even begin to represent the powerful Unitarian Universalists and Universalist women who have courageously lived their values and paved the way and have left us a legacy for which we can be proud and for which we can be inspired. A few of these women have had Unitarian and Universalist influences without formally adopting our faith. So we begin with Abigail Adams. Abigail Adams married John Adams in 1964. And it was her emotional support and spiritual force that sustained him through his service as the second president of the United States. She had 5 children. While he was off working, she was caring for these 5 children, one of whom, John Quincy Adams, became the 6th president of the United States. Abigail was devoted to her church and embraced Unitarian theological ideas before the Unitarian movement was so named. Both she and her husband are buried in the church building of the First Parish Unitarian in Quincy, Massachusetts. And then we look at Julia Ward Howe, probably best known as the author of the Battle Hymn of the Republic. She was one of the most prominent women of her time. Julia, women's clubs and suffrage leader and popular lecturer, she found also time for writing. Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, Unitarian, one of the few African American women associated with the denomination. Frances was a prolific writer, lecturer, and reformer. Although she wrote materials for the African Methodist Episcopal Church, she was a member of the Unitarian Church in Philadelphia, and her funeral was conducted there. And then there's Florence Nightingale, a British Unitarian, the founder of modern nursing. She inherited Unitarianism on both sides of her family and attended the Unitarian Chapel at Leigh and had worshipped at Essex Street Chapel in London. In 1854, she organized a unit of 38 women nurses for the Crimean War, and by the war's end, she was a legend. In 1860, she established a nursing school, and in 1907, she was the first woman to be awarded the British Order of Merit. I'm going to speed up a little bit. We got a little time. Lydia Maria Frances Child. She began writing at an early age. She was writing novels. She wrote a novel about a white woman and an Indian who fell in love. Her writing took a political turn, and she started becoming more concerned with political issues. She wrote an important early anti-slavery book which helped attract prominent Unitarians to the cause, but it cost her her popularity as a writer. Anne Bradstreet was America's first poet. She was no stranger to suffering. She, at the age of 18, was one of the Puritans who braved the Atlantic Ocean in the Arabella with her husband, her parents, and other pioneers. 3 sickening months at sea, surviving on salt meals, brought them to meet starving survivors when they reached Salem. These devout Puritan dissenters settled near the Charles River on the land first called Newtown, later Cambridge. The Bradstreet House was located at what is now the corner of Brattle Street and John F. Kennedy Street, otherwise known as Harvard Square. Among her descendants are William Ellery Channing, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Richard Henry Dana, and Wendell Phillips. Judith Sargent Stevens Murray, a Universalist. She was married to the founder of American Universalism, and she wrote one of the earliest published statements on women's rights and was the first native-born woman dramatist to have her plays professionally performed. And Maria Cook was the first woman to preach in Universalist pulpits. She was a novelty and an inspiration in the early 19th century. She was asked to preach before the Western Association in Bainbridge, New York in 1811, and it caused quite a controversy. But there was enough curiosity to have her continue. She continued to preach in 5 different counties in New York over the next year, until her preaching, the intolerance to her preaching led her to be jailed in Cooperstown, New York, a charge of vagrancy. She stayed in prison for a few weeks and spread her Universalist message to other prisoners, and then retired from preaching. She endured much harassment, but she was courageous in confronting a prejudiced society. Elizabeth Lee Follen, a well-known Unitarian writer and the daughter of Sam Cabot. She was married to Professor Charles Follen, who perished on board the Lexington, which burnt on Long Island Sound. Dorothea Dix, Unitarian, early influence of William Ellery Channing helped to shape Dorothea's lifetime commitment to social reform. She opened a school for young girls in Boston, and in 1825 she published Hymns for Children, an anthology of uplifting poetry. When asked to teach a Sunday school class for women in East Cambridge jail, she discovered that this was her work, and it became her passion for the rest of her life. Prison reform and advocacy for the mentally ill. Elizabeth Palmer Peabody, Unitarian, transcendentalist, teacher, author, and educational reformer, friend of William Ellery Channing, Bronson Alcott, Margaret Fuller, and other New England intellectuals. She was an active participant in the transcendentalist movement and the first woman published in Boston. And Margaret Fuller, Unitarian, author, critic, teacher, feminist, revolutionary. Margaret Fuller was one of the few women who actively participated in the transcendentalist movement. She was the editor of the Transcendentalist Journal, The Dial. Andover Harvard Library at Harvard Divinity School has James Freeman's Clark. He was the first minister in Boston at King's Chapel. He has a copy of The Dial, noting her authorship was anonymous. So Maria Weston Chapman, also a Unitarian, was an ardent abolitionist and helped organize the Boston Female Anti-Slavery Society. Lydia Moss Bradley, Unitarian and Universalist, daughter of the Revolutionary Army Captain Zelie Moss, was called Peoria's most public-spirited woman for her philanthropic contributions to the community. She and her husband joined and helped support the Unitarian Church of Peoria, Illinois, when it was founded in the 1850s. When it disbanded, they joined the Universalist Church. Lucinda Hinsdale Stone was born in Vermont and grew up there and was a governess to Natchez, I don't know what that is, Natchez, Missouri, where she witnessed the slave culture and became a staunch abolitionist. After her marriage, she moved to Michigan, where her husband became the president of Kalamazoo College, and she ran the female department. She supported the women's suffrage movement and was invited to sit on the platform with Susan B. Anthony at her 80th birthday celebration. There's Sally Hawley, who was an abolitionist writer and educator who joined the Unitarian Church in Buffalo of 1841. Does anybody remember Sally? Later, she became interested in Christian Science and ethical culture. During and after the Civil War, she lectured for Negro suffrage, collecting clothing for people who had formerly been held as slaves. She wrote for the National Anti-Slavery Standard. Maria Mitchell, Unitarian astronomer and the first woman elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, discovered a comet in 1847. She was raised in the Quaker tradition, but was strongly influenced by Unitarianism as a part of her intellectual awakening. Mary Ashton Livermore, Civil War worker, temperance and suffrage leader, and popular lecturer. Susan B. Anthony, we all know Susan B. Anthony. She was raised a Quaker, but was an active member of First Unitarian Church in Rochester, New York for most of her adult life, although she never officially signed the membership book until 1893. Alice Carey. Alice and her sister Phoebe were both writers, abolitionists, and workers for women's rights. And Clara Barton was a Universalist. She was an American nurse who founded the American Red Cross. Although she never became a member, she was raised Universalist and claimed Universalism as her religion. Elizabeth Blackwell, Unitarian, born in England, and she shocked her Episcopal parents at age 18 by joining William Ellery Channing's Unitarian Church. She was the first woman with a physician with a medical degree in modern times. Antoinette Louisa Brown Blackwell, originally ordained as a Congregationalist, left that denomination and became later fellowshipped as a Unitarian minister. She did not serve a parish until she founded the church at Elizabeth, New Jersey. Emily Blackwell was a sister of Elizabeth. Emily also became a doctor. Maria Cummins, Unitarian, in 1854 wrote The Lamplighter, and 40,000 copies were sold in the first 2 months, 70,000 in the first year. She was a member of the first church, Unitarian Church in Dorchester, Mass., and she taught Sunday school sometimes. Emily Dickinson, we love to claim Emily Dickinson, but she was not a formal Unitarian, but her poetry questions traditional religious beliefs and doctrines. She described herself as a pagan, suggesting a move away from traditional religious dogma. She was influenced by Ralph Waldo Emerson, a prominent Unitarian and transcendentalist thinker, whose ideas about individualism and self-reliance resonated with her. And then there's Louisa May Alcott. Her well-known works include Little Women, Little Men, and others. Olympia Brown has been acclaimed as the first woman ordained by full denominational authority in 1863, although the honor properly belongs to Lydia Ann Jenkins, who was officially sanctioned by the Universalists in 1858. She had a meeting with Susan B. Anthony, and which persuaded her to work in the women's suffrage. Jane Chapman Augusta, an early and avid reader. She first realized her ability to teach at age 14. She studied at the University of Michigan and developed her religious leanings to become a minister. She earned an honorary doctorate degree from Lombard College. Eliza Tupper Wilkes, Unitarian and Universalist. She learned that women could be ministers and was encouraged by Augusta Chapman and Mary Livermore to be ordained in 1871. She became the director of the Iowa Unitarian Conference and continued her work establishing new Unitarian societies. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly now. Oh my goodness, the time's going. So we'll just go through them. No commentary. Emma Eliza Bailey, Unitarian. Ida Hasted R. Harper, journalist and suffragist. Anna Carper Garland Spencer, Unitarian. Mary Augusta Safford, the driving force of the Iowa Sisterhood. Eleanor Elizabeth Gordon, Unitarian, also a part of the Iowa Sisterhood. Maria Louise Baldwin, suffragette, poet. Fanny Merritt Farmer, Unitarian. We all remember Fanny Farmer and her amazing cookbooks. She grew up in Medford, Massachusetts, where she attended the Unitarian Church. Ida Halton, another Iowa Sisterhood. Carrie Clinton Lane Chapman, Unitarian Connections. Jane Addams, who many will remember as pretty much the founder of social work. She created the Hull House and received a Nobel Prize. Amy Lowell, Unitarian Connections. Sophia Lyon-Fahs, we owe much of our religious education philosophy to Sophia Fahs. And May Sarton, Unitarian Universalist poet and essayist and novelist. These women are just a few of the remarkable women in our Unitarian Universalist history who have left us with a legacy of empowerment and resilience, which we need so desperately in these days ahead. So may their inspiration continue to drive our mission forward as we face the challenges ahead. May it be so. Amen. And please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 1026 in your teal hymnal.
Amen.
Please join me in reading the shared reading as we extinguish the flame. So, as we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world, in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
These words are by Reverend Scott Taylor. Go in faith, not the kind that is called to move mountains, but the quieter sort, that calls us to take the first step, even when the whole staircase sits beyond our view. As we stride toward the unseen, may we notice that the way unfolds only when we risk traveling it. And may we remember and trust that none of these steps are ones that we take alone. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.
Ha ha!